They say your early life romance came.
Okay guys, so time to get ugly. Today I'm going to be showing you some stuff about the Stinger turbo upgrades, and we have really just beat a dead horse with this. So I'm just going to dive straight into it. There are some OEM Stinger turbo upgrades that are on the market, and these OEM upgrades with doing stuffed turbos and stuff of that nature, where they put bigger exhaust and compressor wheels on them, move some more air. Okay, so first off, I'm going to show you one of the bigger changes that are made. Is we have this upgraded exhaust wheel on here. Now this upgraded exhaust wheel, the exhaust wheel literally goes out to the outside edge of what's possible. You physically can't go any bigger than this base piece that's right here that I'm turning, and the exhaust wheel goes right out to that edge. Now this is a huge exhaust wheel upgrade over the factory turbo. I wish I had a factory turbo I could like lay here next to it and show you. I don't, I'm sorry, but you can't go any bigger than this. Now if you look at the stack height, the height of the exhaust wheel, it has been increased also. So it's a taller, it's a bigger, it's a overall higher flowing exhaust wheel, okay? And then to go with that, we have upgraded compressor wheel too. Now the compressor wheel is about as big as we can go. We're starting to get pretty thin right here on this wall where the silicone, the intake connects to. So as you can see, the turbo is it's a very nice, very fully thought out upgrade. Here's a part of the upgrade where I get upset with. Now people are putting these turbos on their cars, and they're making, you know, 100, possibly 120 horsepower over what the factory turbos are. But these cars are not per se any faster in the 1/8 mile, 1/4 mile, 0 to 60 and stuff of that nature. Nobody has put together a stuffed turbo Stinger turbo upgrade, stock turbo upgrade Stinger Genesis coupe of that nature that is in fact faster than stock turbos. And I'm going to show you some of the consequences that come with it. Now the exhaust wheel has to be machined inside of here. So this has to be opened up inside of here to accommodate the bigger exhaust wheel. You see how big that opening is? Nice, great, big, huge opening. Allows a lot of exhaust flow. You're not going to have any issues with the exhaust wheel moving airflow out of this opening here, okay? So this opening here is a little bit bigger than 2.5 inches. With the flapper being open, it moves quite a bit of exhaust flow, okay? This here is the inlet of the exhaust manifold. Now this is, we refer to this as a turbo fold or a turbo manifold, where it's a manifold and an exhaust housing built into one. So it's kind of an all-inclusive complete unit. This is where this bolts up to the cylinder head. The cylinder head has exhaust that runs into here. Let's see if I can get this turned around. So the exhaust runs into here through this tube, up into the exhaust housing area, the scroll area, where the turbo will then spin and it'll drive the turbo. When you reach your target boost, this will open, dump excessive gases. Here's my problem, okay? This, bam, there. This tube here, so again, that might be a better way to look at it. This tube here starts off, well, that big, okay? So, I mean, that's a couple dollar pieces could fit into that. Okay? That dollar piece, those couple of dollar pieces, neck down to here. Now, it's about the size of a 50-cent piece right through here. Now, how do I know this? I've tried to drop coins through this and tried to get them to pass all the way through. I've had a borescope in there also, and I've looked at it. Okay, here's where the problem gets. When we get to about here, okay, this area right here, a quarter will not pass through this, okay? How small is this? The only way for me to verify and get an accurate measurement on this area would be for me to like cut this manifold in half. Now I'm not going to cut up a $1,000 turbo just to get a measurement inside of there. So, but what is happening is we have got roughly a 1 inch, 1.1 inch, or possibly 1.2 inch area that you're trying to force an excess of, I don't know, you're trying to put 700 horsepower through a 1.1 inch exhaust tubing. Let me ask you a question. How much power would your car make if you put 1.25 inch exhaust tubing on each side of your car? More or less, if you had 1.25 inch exhaust tubing coming out of this flange right here, instead of the 2.5 inch tubing that goes back all the way to the back of the car, we were to go through and put 1.25 inch tubing downpipes on your car. Okay? There's no difference between this being 1.25 inches and you having 1.25 inch exhaust here. Now people will say, oh, pressure this, pressure that. Yes, there's going to be a small difference. But here is the problem. The wastegate that opens and releases your boost pressure into the 2.5 inch area, it is after the 1.1, 1.2 restricted manifold tubing. Okay? It is after, okay, where the greatest restriction is. You're not going to be bypassing anything when the wastegate opens. It all still has to run through this 1.1, 1.2 area of exhaust flow. Okay? As you can see, I have fittings on here for back pressure transducers. We did some back pressure testing. Not going to release a back pressure result. Sorry, I'm simply not going to do that because I would end up doing all of my competitors' work in order to show them how much of a problem this is. Now, is it worth, or is there value to be doing a turbo upgrade? Yes, there is. As I said before, there you can pick up roughly about 100 horsepower. By going through and doing a proper bolt-on mods, upgrades, tuning, stuff of that nature that's going to promote the turbos to work most efficiently. So a full bolt-on car with methanol, a CPI, something of that nature, with a set of these turbos, you will probably end up making another 75 to 100 horsepower over what they can make on the stock turbos. However, we do run into a situation right here where we do have exhaust gas pressures starting to back up, and those exhaust gas pressures start to generate excessive EGTs. The excessive EGTs from the larger compressor wheel and the larger exhaust wheel driving more exhaust gases into the compressor side. We end up having this section becoming a incredibly large problem with EGTs and back pressure inside the engine. Back pressure inside the engine will relate to burnt ring lands, piston tops getting burned, warped valves. You'll start to see some exhaust wheel issues where the back pressure is starting to put pressure on the thrust surfaces inside of the turbo, thrust bearing surfaces. It just turns into a huge complex mess where you have tuners that are going to come out and say, hey, let's tune this car for 700 horsepower. This is a pair of pure 770 turbos. Okay, the turbo itself will make 770 horsepower on a Stinger. The manifold itself, you're not going to see anything past 650, 670 horsepower. I don't care what people tell you, okay? The physics of what you're looking at right here, okay? If you have a 1.1 or 1.2 inch exhaust heading into the turbo and driving the turbo, when you could have had like a 2.5 inch exhaust here at the flange, you are not going to make 700 horsepower. You're not going to make 770 horsepower. Okay, a handful of people that I know that are running these upgraded turbos or other turbos. I'm not going to mention any other brands, names, or manufacturers, but people who are running these other turbos in the upgraded stock format, they are having issues. They are having performance issues. They're having tuning issues. They're having what I'm going to tell you is back pressure issues, because the back pressure running through this tube is backing up on the valves inside the combustion chambers is causing a diluted mixture or contaminated mixture, because you have 60 or 70 or let's say 100 pounds of back pressure in the manifold, because it can't make its way through this 1.1, 1.2 inch area inside the exhaust manifold. Now this is not typical of your typical four-cylinder. Your typical four-cylinder manifold, you have 4 runners, 1, 2, 3, 4, that feed, the engine feeds, and it goes up to a flange, and you got like really like nice flowing runners, and there's a lot of exhaust flow that can move through the manifold. This is your traditional cast iron turbo manifold. In the Stinger, we don't have 3 ports on each side of the cylinder head. We have 1 big exhaust port on each side of the cylinder head. Okay, so now I pointed out to you why we're not seeing 700 horsepower cars, or I want to say we have very few modified stock turbo cars even generating 650 horsepower, and the few cars that I know that have come close to that, they have had some problems. With the details of those problems and the extent of those problems have been kept primarily from the community, and for what reasons they've been kept from the community, I don't know. You have to talk with the people who have done these turbo upgrades and then who have posted results and then have left the community suddenly or parted out their cars. The part out of the cars, again, is all speculative. I am not even going to touch on that. I am just here to show you why modified stock turbos are not going to be the cat's meow of the Stinger community. A true big turbo kit is going to be probably the best option for the community, both power wise and longevity wise. Cost wise, no. The cost wise of doing a big turbo upgrade is going to be cost prohibitive for most people, because it requires 2 new manifolds, 2 new downpipes, 2 new intercooler piping, 2 new turbos, oil lines, oil return lines, custom tuning, etc., etc., etc. You're going to run into a whole gauntlet of problems when you try to do a big turbo kit, which just will drive the costs up. Does that mean I've given up on trying to make a big turbo kit? No, it doesn't. I will eventually be making a big turbo kit for the community, but I will also be trying to sort a base tune for the pure stuffed turbos to make it compatible with the restrictions that we have in the car. Options are to get these casted in a larger casting, because if we were to go through and do the front half upgrade and then cast this in a larger tubing, if we were to do per se like a 2.5 inch that comes around, hits the scroll area of the turbo, and we were to have the scroll area, the inlet of the scroll area larger, we would be able to see a huge increase in horsepower, a huge increase in power output, because the restriction coming from the cylinder head to the scroll housing would not be in here anymore. It would be a much larger area that would be more productive for the larger exhaust wheel. One of the things we have talked about, so I'm going to give some details away here that I probably shouldn't, but what the hell. We have talked about putting a fixed spring exhaust gate, so an external gate that goes on to the underside of this bend. The external gate would essentially be, I'm using a blow-off valve, so you guys will have to excuse me. An external gate would be something that would get bolted on underneath the cylinder head. So it would be flush with the side of the block at the angle of the cylinder head, and you'd put an external gate on here. It would be a fixed spring gate. You'd put like a 35 psi or a 30 psi gate in here to negate the back pressures related to this. That way, when the flapper opened to control boost, this would be opening on a mechanical basis versus working on an electronic or pneumatic or some basis of that nature. And then you just have a small dump tube that would come off the external gate and point straight down. That would be an option to negate the back pressures from this small neck down that leads up to the scroll housing inside of the factory manifold. Again, an external gate bolted on here would reduce the pressure from here to the external gate. The external gate would open. It would dump the pressure from the manifold, thus allowing the proper amount of exhaust gases here to run up to, still maintaining exhaust flow to drive the turbo. I haven't made a determination if I want to do that just yet. Putting the external gate on here on the driver's side in the US market cars would be very difficult because we have got the steering shaft that runs down through this area and is a direct link between the rack and pinion and the steering wheel. I don't know how much room we have over here to do an external gate with a dump tube coming off that side, and there will of course be tuning difficulties in dealing with the external gate opening in relationship to the electronic gates controlling boost. I'm sure that there's things that could be done inside the tune to accommodate those needs for running external gate and electronic gate at the same time. Could you, here's something that somebody had made mention of, could you weld the factory gate shut, the factory electronic gate, and eliminate more or less the electronic gate in the side here, and then just run the car off of external gates with a bolt-on turbo? Yes, you could. Just like running a big turbo kit that's running external gates with no electronic gates, you could go through and put two small 38 or 40 millimeter external gates on the underside of this manifold, defeat the electronic gate, and then just run two external gates that controlled what would essentially be a big turbo kit that no longer has the factory electronic gates on it. How would that work? You know, I don't know. These would be probably fairly quick spooling turbos with removing the electronic gate and putting a mechanically driven external gate on it. That will be, again, something else that we have to investigate. Lots of things to look at, lots of things to test. But I'm here to tell you and inform you that going through and doing bigger compressor wheels and super big exhaust wheels and all this work to make the front half of the turbo much better and make it flow more and make it more productive, more efficient, more powerful is all good and dandy. I mean, I really love what Pure does with the exhaust wheel. It's a monster exhaust wheel. This turbo should make 750 horsepower on your Stinger. It is, however, sad to report that the restriction here is going to slow down the exhaust velocity, build up so much back pressure that it is not going to allow you to crest much over, I know I'm going to say 650 horsepower at this time because I have not seen any car reliably make more than 650 horsepower with a bolt-on turbo upgrade. So, with that being said, I have managed to waste what looks like about 17 minutes of your time, which I apologize for that. I hope that the information that I provided here will give you some insight into what to do for your 3.3 twin turbo Genesis or Kia Stinger application, making your modifying path an easier one and more informed for your future upgrades. Again, thank you for watching Torque Motorsports. Hit the like and subscribe button if you want to have more content like this. Take care, guys.